Hi, this is Andrea Odom, and this is week 5. This is my video dissertation assignment, scholarly survey. This week, my research continued on the Mighty 8th Air Force. I was particularly looking this week at the role of the B-17 plane and how effective that it was with the Allied bombings in the European theater. My title was The Importance of the B-17 Superfortress and Allied Efforts in the European Theater in World War II. And one of the things that I focused on in my abstract was just the history of aviation in general, its importance in any study of U.S. history. All of our major wars, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the plane was a big part of us winning those wars, not Vietnam, of course, but, in the world wars especially. And it's very interesting and incredible, actually, that the development of the planes in just roughly 60 years, from the time of the Wright glider in 1903 up to the landing of a man on the moon in 1969. And the B-17 was a, very impressive aircraft. The stuff that I read said that it was durable. It, at one point, through the different models, different variants of it, it had 13 guns on the outside. It could carry a large bomb payload. It actually said that like almost 43% of the bombs that were dropped in the war came from B-17s. And a lot of times the crew would come back intact because the plane was able to sustain heavy damage. Some of the other things, noteworthy things that I found, it said the B-17 dropped more bombs than any other aircraft during World War II. It was a fast and high-flying bomber, had 4 engines. It was the 3rd most produced bomber in history behind the B-24. It was used for various things. It wasn't just used for bombing. It was used for transport, anti-submarine warfare, search and rescue. It was used in the Pacific theater as well, not just the European theater, but of course it had its greatest effect in the European theater. It was introduced in 1938 into service. It was called a strategic weapon. It had a reputation for toughness, and they were attacking the German industrial, military, and civilian targets. It said that it could hold about 4,800 pounds of bombs, and at the time of Pearl Harbor, there were only about 200 of them in service, and they ramped up production. Now it said that there's about 40 of them left in the United States, and only about 4 or 5 that can actually fly. It served in every World War II combat zone, and the B-17F variant was the one that was primarily used by the 8th Air Force, and it was actually preferred by the 8th, coming from Jimmy Doolittle. He was the one that wanted to use that plane. They flew it in a combat box formation, and that was before they were escorted by the P-51 Mustangs. That was a way to keep from getting shot down. They would stay in this formation, and they were expected not to break the formation. Its tails sometimes would be shredded or engines destroyed, and it could still bring the boys home. The Memphis Belle was one movie and there's also a documentary of it that I found that is specifically about the B-17. I have not watched that yet, but I'm going to put that on my list. So, the combat effectiveness of the B-17 was impressive. And thanks a lot.